Chumash Indian homeland lies along the coast of California between Malibu and Paso Robles, as well as on the northern Channel Islands. Before the mission period, the Chumash lived in 150 independent villages with a total population of about 18,000 people. In different parts of the region, people spoke different but related languages. The area was first settled about 13,000 years ago. Over time, the population increased and the people adapted their lifeways to the local environment. Villages along the coastline, on the island, and in the interior had access to different resources, which they traded with one another. In 1769, 5 Spanish missions were established in Chumash territory. The Chumash population was eventually decimated due largely to the introduction of European diseases. It was used to get to various islands and for fishing. The plank canoe or tumul was 8 to 30 feet long, and it was made using driftwood or redwood. The typical plank canoe held a crew of 3 people. Large canoes can carry as many as 10 people. One member of the crew would act as a bailer because seawater often seeped into the tumult. Chumash ancestors lived in large dome-shaped homes that were made of willow branches. Whalebone was used for reinforcing, and the roofs were composed of tule mats. The interior rooms were partitioned for privacy by hanging reed mats from the ceilings. As many as 50 people could live in one house with platform beds built above the ground. The Chumash used the platforms, to store personal belongings. The swordfish dance was one of the most important held at ceremonies. The dancers wore an actual swordfish skull decorated with shell inlay or an headdress to symbolize the word sword. The swordfish was given offerings of beads and other gifts because he was believed to be the chief of all the sea animals. When whales were stranded on the shore, they were said to have been driven ashore by a swordfish as food for the people. In fact, swordfish sometimes are known to attack whales, so the Chumash myth was founded upon the direct observation. Chumash villages were endowed with a shaman or an astrologer. These gifted shamans charted the heavens using calendar rocks to interpret and help guide the people. The Chumash believed that the world was in a constant state of change, so decisions in the villages were made only after consulting the charts. Rolling hills of the coastline, our Chumash ancestors found caves to use for sacred religious ceremonies. The earliest Chumash Indians used charcoal for their drawings, but as our culture evolved, our ancestors colorfully decorated the caves using red, orange, and yellow pigments. These colorful yet simple cave paintings included human figures and animal life. They used a technique of applying dots around the figures to make them more distinct. Baskets played essential roles in all aspects of Chumash life, for gathering, storing, preparing and serving food, holding water, keeping money and other valuables, measuring acorns for trade, carrying babies, gambling as gifts, and for ceremonies. Even the Chumash house was much like an upside down basket. The bead money was usually made from small disc-shaped shells. The Indians who lived on the Channel Islands specialized in making the bead money. They were the mint for the Chumash Indians who lived on the mainland. The value of the money depended on the labor invested to make it. The Chumash homeland offered a wide variety of food supplies. Their livelihood was based largely on the sea, and they used over 100 kinds of fish and gathered clams, mussels, and abalone. The Chumash ate many kinds of wild plants and traded some among themselves. They also hunted both small and large animals for food. They did not plant corn or other crops as Indians elsewhere did. The Chumash roasted meat and fish over the fire and made shellfish into soup. Acorns, the most important plant, took a long time to prepare. Dried shell acorns were ground to a powder with a stone mortar and pestle. The Chumash used the bow and arrow beginning about 1500 years ago. Before that they used the spear thrower. They also used a harpoon with a detachable fork shaft for spearing large fish. They made curved circular fish hooks for abalone and mussel shells for catching smaller fish. One of the most popular of team sports among the Chumash was shinny. During large ceremonial gatherings, an entire village might play against another with as many as 200 or 300 players on the field. The game requires a square playing area of about 300 yards on a side. Each team had facing goalposts, and the players were armed with shinny sticks, much like hockey players. The object of the game was to put the small wooden ball through the opponent's goalpost by striking the ball with great force.